She walked into heads for 30 years. How Lauren Sanchez destroyed competitors on the way to Bezos's billions. When the world learned about Lauren Sanchez's scandalous affair with the richest man on the planet, Jeff Bezos, few knew the true cost of her success. Behind the sparkling smile and carefree photos on the billionaire's yachts lies a story of ruthless manipulation, ruined lives, and cold calculation that lasted more than 3 decades. Our investigation reveals the shocking details of how one woman methodically destroyed everyone who stood in her way to the top of the American elite. Lauren Wendy Sanchez was born on the 19th of December, 1969 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, to a family of Mexican descent. Her father, Raimundo Sanchez, worked as a construction worker for $8 an hour, and her mother, Eleanor, tried to earn money by cleaning wealthy homes. The family of 5 children lived in a poor apartment where the electricity was often turned off for non-payment. According to the recollections of neighbors, little Lauren from an early age differed from other children in her coldness and calculating nature. She never cried when she fell, but she always remembered who pushed her, recalls Maria Gomez, a former neighbor of the Sanchez family. Already at the age of 10, Lauren began to manipulate her classmates, creating coalitions against those who interfered with her. She systematically spread gossip about girls who were more popular than her until she completely destroyed their reputations. School teachers noted her unusual for a child's ability to exert psychological pressure. At the University of California, Los Angeles, Sanchez perfected her methods. She purposefully befriended Jennifer Clark, a talented journalism student from an influential family who had a guaranteed internship at CNN. Lauren systematically undermined Jennifer's self-confidence, criticizing her work and spreading rumors about her supposedly unstable mental state. The situation culminated when Sanchez gave Jennifer friendly advice to apply for an internship at a local television company instead of CNN to gain experience. The naive girl obeyed, and Lauren, in the meantime, applied for her own job at CNN, using contacts and recommendations that actually belonged to Jennifer. "Lauren stole the chance of a lifetime from me," says Jennifer Clark, now 54, who has never been able to build a career in journalism since that incident. "She knew I trusted her, and she used that against me. It was a lesson that cost me my entire future." At the KCOP television channel, Sanchez used even more sophisticated methods of destroying competitors. Her main rival was Rebecca Torres, an experienced journalist who had every chance of being promoted to news anchor. Lauren began a systematic campaign to discredit her. First, Sanchez accidentally learned about Rebecca's problems with alcohol and began to subtly hint at this to management. Then she organized a situation when Torres was late for an important program due to technical problems with her car. In fact, Lauren had previously damaged her car by unscrewing several important parts. The final blow was an anonymous complaint to management that Rebecca allegedly showed up to work drunk. Torres was fired a week later, and Sanchez took her place. "She destroyed me methodically and mercilessly," says Rebecca. "I lost my job, my reputation, and then my family. My husband couldn't stand the scandal and filed for divorce." The relationship with football player Tony Gonzalez was a cold calculation from the very beginning. Sanchez first saw him at a televised match and decided that he would be her ticket to high society. She carefully studied his habits, learned about the places he visited, and arranged a chance meeting. Mario Lopez, a friend of Gonzalez, recalls, "Tony was madly in love with her, and she treated him like a business project. I saw her taking notes about his friends, their incomes and connections. It was terrifying." During the marriage, Sanchez not only exploited her husband's connections, but also actively undermined his relationships with friends she didn't like or benefit from. She spread gossip, created conflicts, and isolated Gonzalez from those who could interfere with her. The most terrible episode was the story with Carmen Rodriguez, Tony's best friend since childhood. Sanchez learned that Carmen suspected her of selfish motives and planned to talk to Gonzalez. Lauren organized a leak that Carmen was allegedly trying to borrow money from Tony and fabricated evidence of her financial problems. Tony stopped communicating with me because of Lauren's lies, Carmen says. She destroyed a friendship that had lasted 20 years simply because I saw her true face. After that, Tony became completely dependent on her. On Fox 11, Lauren Sanchez demonstrated not only professionalism in her journalistic work, but also the skill of strategic destruction of competitors. Her loudest and most brutal example was a targeted attack on one of the most famous faces of the channel, Samantha Davis. For 5 years, Samantha was not just a television presenter. She became a symbol of the channel, a favorite of viewers, and an example for younger colleagues. However, it was her popularity and charisma that Sanchez decided to break at all costs. At first, Lauren acted unnoticed. She struck up a friendship with Samantha's personal assistant, 23-year-old Ashley Green, a newcomer to the television industry who sincerely admired her boss. Sanchez used the warmth and trust of the naive girl, gradually extracting personal information about Samantha's life from her. She learned not only about her busy schedule and emotional exhaustion, but also about the most painful thing, Samantha's affair with a married producer who, moreover, had influence in the channel's management. However, Lauren was in no hurry. She acted not straightforwardly, but delicately and insidiously. She began by often raising the topics of professional ethics, the importance of maintaining standards, and avoiding unethical relationships in the workplace, in casual conversations with colleagues. Her words sounded like general advice, but there was a hint in them that undermined Samantha's reputation. Later, she organized a situation in which information about the affair allegedly accidentally got to the management. This caused an internal investigation, which led to the public humiliation of the presenter and the actual termination of her career on the channel. But Sanchez's most brutal actions were ahead. Knowing that Samantha loves her daughter, 16-year-old Emily, more than anything else in the world, Lauren decided to hit her right where she belonged. She learned that the girl had been struggling with drug addiction for a long time and was undergoing private treatment in a rehabilitation center. This information was strictly confidential, only those closest to her knew. But Sanchez managed to organize a leak to the tabloids, framing it as a journalistic investigation. A loud scandal erupted. The headlines in the press mercilessly stigmatized not only Samantha, but also her daughter. The personal became public, and the consequences were tragic. Emily, who was just beginning her recovery, broke down. After a wave of bullying on social networks and attacks by the paparazzi, the girl tried to end her life. Samantha was broken. As a mother, as a professional, as a person, Lauren destroyed not only me, but also my child. Samantha Davis says bitterly in an interview, "My daughter could not stand the public shame. After the suicide attempt, we are treating her not only for addiction, but also for post-traumatic shock. Sanchez used the most sacred thing, my motherly love, to finish me off for good." Today, Samantha is far from television. She rarely appears in public, lives in silence with her daughter, whom she continues to support in the fight for a normal life. The story of her fall has become an example in the media of how ambition, intrigue, and ruthlessness can destroy not only careers, but also human destinies. Patrick Whitesell became the next victim of Sanchez's strategic plans. But this time, she acted even more subtly. Before starting an affair with Whitesell, Lauren carefully studied his previous relationships and found out that he still loves his ex-wife, Lindsay. Sanchez arranged to meet Lindsay under the guise of a journalistic interview and began to undermine her mental state. She told the woman friendly stories about how Patrick allegedly talks about her to other people, distorting his words and creating the impression that he despises her. When Lindsay, unable to withstand the psychological pressure, began to quarrel with Patrick, Sanchez was there to support him in a difficult moment. She skillfully played the role of an understanding friend, gradually pushing Lindsay out of Whitesell's life. "Lauren systematically destroyed my relationship with Patrick," says Lindsay Whitesell. "She knew that I loved him, and she used it against me. By the time I realized what was happening, it was too late." Patrick had completely fallen under her influence. But the most terrible fate was Patrick himself. After the marriage, Sanchez began to isolate him from friends and business partners who might interfere with her. She spread gossip about their alleged disloyalty, created conflicts, and gradually took control of his business. Black Ops Aviation, a company that officially specializes in aerial photography, logistics, and private transportation, actually became for Lauren Sanchez not just a business, but a weapon of total destruction of competitors. Her approach to the market was not about growth, but about domination, not about competition, but about the extermination of opponents. Behind the signboard of a glossy company with a fleet of modern helicopters, there were shadowy operations, blackmail, subterfuge, industrial espionage, and systematic exploitation of other people's weaknesses. One of Sanchez's first targets was the company Sky High Productions, which was developed for more than 15 years by an experienced aviation veteran, Michael Stone. He had an impeccable reputation among clients, was a fan of security and fair competition. But he did not suspect that he was playing against an opponent who did not recognize the rules. Lauren, having received information about Stone's financial problems and tax delays through third parties, organized an anonymous tip-off to the IRS. The tax authorities immediately became interested in Michael's company. A large-scale investigation began, accounts were seized, and assets were frozen. Stone had to throw all his strength into defending himself in court, and at this time Sanchez intercepted his key clients, luring them with an aggressive policy of dumping prices, promising excellent service and even discounts in solidarity with their difficult situation. "She destroyed my business, which I had built from scratch for 15 years, Michael Stone recalls with pain. "I didn't just lose my company. I lost my house, my reputation, my marriage. My life was falling apart. And Lauren, she just smiled as she walked past me at air shows like nothing had happened." Another stark example of Sanchez's ruthless approach was her fight with Janice Wilsonone, of the few women in the aviation industry who had not only a license but also real influence in the industry. Her company was gradually attracting the attention of major studio sand. This was a threat to Black Ops Aviation. Lauren couldn't let that happen. She organized an elaborate operation to discredit Janice. Through familiar FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, inspectors, Sanchez made sure that Wilson was investigated for a fabricated safety violation. During one of her filming assignments, technical observers accidentally got on board the client's crew and recorded the alleged reckless maneuvering. Although the investigation later proved the accusations to be baseless, it was enough to deal a reputational blow. After that, no major company wanted to work with me again, says Janice. "I was told that it was too risky. They didn't take away my license, they took away the trust of the industry. Sanchez knew where to hit, and she hit it right." After the incident, Janice was forced to sell her plane, and her aerial photography studio closed. Most of her colleagues, fearing they would be next on the list, turned their backs on her. She moved to another city, started teaching at a flight school, but never returned to big business. Such stories are not the exception, but the rule in Sanchez's world. Her strategy is always the same. Find a weakness, push, and bring a person to ruin while she herself rises up. For her, there are no boundaries between business and personal, ethics and profit, destruction and victory. Black Ops Aviation today is one of the most successful private aviation brands, but its path reminds not of innovation or talent, but of the ruins of the dreams of those who dared to compete. Before meeting Bezos, Lauren Sanchez's financial empire was estimated at approximately $45 to $50 million, which was the result not only of her own efforts, but also of the systematic appropriation of other people's ideas and opportunities. Real estate, $15 million. A mansion in Beverly Hills worth $8.5 million, bought after the sudden bankruptcy of the previous owner, whom Sanchez destroyed due to business intrigues. A penthouse in Manhattan for $4.2 million, received as compensation from an influential investor after a scandal she herself organized. A villa in Malibu for $2.3 million, bought for next to nothing after the previous owner lost her job because of Sanchez's gossip. Black Ops Aviation, $18 million. The company included a fleet of 12 helicopters and 8 private jets. Most of the equipment was purchased at dumping prices from competitors whom Sanchez drove to bankruptcy. Of particular value was an exclusive Eurocopter EC-155 helicopter, which she received almost for free after organizing a scandal around its previous owner. Investment portfolio, $8 million. Media stocks, $3.2 million. Technology startups, $2.8 million. Rental properties, $2 million. Jewelry and luxury goods, $3 million. The collection included diamonds that had previously belonged to the wife of one of her business partners. Sanchez orchestrated the couple's divorce by spreading rumors of her husband's infidelity, then bought the jewelry at auction for a nominal price. Copyrights and intellectual property, $1.5 million. Included rights to television formats and media projects, most of which were borrowed from colleagues without their knowledge. Accounts receivable and loans, $1 million. Sanchez made high-interest loans to colleagues and partners, often using their financial problems to further control them. Sanchez's foray into tech was a carefully planned operation. It began by destroying the career of Melissa Chen, a talented journalist who specialized in covering tech news. Sanchez orchestrated a leak that Melissa allegedly accepts bribes from startups for positive reviews. "I've never taken bribes, but Lauren fabricated evidence so skillfully that even I started to doubt myself," says Melissa Chen. "She didn't just destroy my career, she stole my identity. After her, I became the person she painted me to be." Taking Melissa's place in tech journalism, Sanchez began a systematic study of Jeff Bezos. She hired a private investigator to gather information about his habits, preferences, and personal life. Lauren learned about the problems in his marriage to Mackenzie long before they became public. Sanchez's sudden interest in space technology was part of a long-term strategy to woo Bezos. She hired rocketry consultants, took jet flying lessons, and even took a course in amateur astronautics. The most vile was the way she used Dr. Robert Kimball, a renowned expert in space technology. Sanchez first gained his trust under the guise of a journalist writing a book about space, and then organized a scandal around his research to gain access to his contacts at NASA and private space companies. "Lauren stole years of my work and used my contacts for her own purposes," says Dr. Kimball. "She destroyed my reputation in the scientific community by spreading lies about plagiarism in my work." The operation to seduce Bezos lasted for more than 2 years. Sanchez systematically appeared at events where he was present, each time demonstrating casual knowledge of his interests. She arranged casual meetings through mutual acquaintances who did not even suspect that they were being used. The most horrific part of the plan was how Sanchez used information about Bezos's marital problems. She orchestrated a leak of information about his relationships with other women to Mackenzie Bezos, increasing the strain on their marriage and making Jeff more vulnerable to her influence. The list of people whose lives Lauren Sanchez destroyed on her way to the top includes dozens of names. Jennifer Clark lost her career in journalism, now works as a cashier in a supermarket. Rebecca Torres drank herself to death after being fired, lost her family. Carmen Rodriguez lost her long-standing friendship with Gonzalez. Samantha Davis, her daughter tried to commit suicide. Lindsay Whitesell lost the love of her life. Michael Stone went bankrupt, lost his home and family. Janice Wilson could never work as a pilot again. Melissa Chen lost her reputation in journalism. Dr. Robert Kimball, discredited in the scientific community. Today, having access to Jeff Bezos's wealth, according to experts, she controls assets worth more than $2 billion. Lauren Sanchez is planning new conquests. Insiders report her interest in a political career and plans to create her own media empire. But the scariest thing is that she continues to use her methods now. Several former Bezos assistants have mysteriously resigned after conflicts with Sanchez. She is systematically cleaning the billionaire's entourage of people who could threaten her positions. Now that Lauren Sanchez has access to billions of dollars and the most influential circles in the world, one can only guess how many more people will fall victim to her ruthless ambitions. Her story is a warning that sometimes behind success lies real evil, dressed in a beautiful shell and a charming smile.